Ellie, what do you think? Should we get back to Cybernaut? Checking out all my little pinball trinkets. Got a taxi topper, thanks to JC. I've got a whirlwind topper, thanks to KG. And I've got these NBA fast break dudes, also thanks to Kevin. I'm gonna mount these guys at some point. And you can help, Ellie. But before we get to all that, it is time to get back to Cybernaut. I'm Mike Dimas, and this is Pinball Shenanigans. Hope you enjoyed the last episode with Jay the neighbor and I. For the brief 20 minutes we fiddled around with the thing, we were able to actually get it to boot up and play and get the sound working, so that was a success. Ellie's gonna go hang out in her perch, and that's where she usually supervises the operation from. I'm not opening up the window because it is cold outside, so sorry, not gonna do it, Ellie. You just hang out there. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what my plans are for tonight. At the very least, this flipper is not working, so I want to get that going. And I'd kind of just been like snooping around briefly here for a minute or two, and someone has given this machine a fair amount of love in the past. Like these look like brand new printed apron cards, even with color. And it looks like there's actually plastic protectors under the slingshots, so that's kind of cool. And I think this is a custom plastic here that someone maybe made under this plastic here, which had a chip out of the one side. So you can see things are a little loose, you know. It's probably going to require I'm probably going to tear it down, replace whatever rubbers need to be replaced, tighten everything up, just button everything down. This ramp is kind of interesting because every ramp like this I've ever seen in the past has been stainless, but this, it's like a vinyl floor to it, which is different. I'm assuming that's factory, but just an observation. And this tube looks to be in pretty darn good shape too. I wonder if that was replaced. But yeah, I don't know who owned this before, but they gave it some love, so I can appreciate that. Which means my job is going to be a little bit easier. One other thing Jay and I noticed is that two of the screws of the whole, look at this, two of the four screws to the flipper bracket are missing completely, so I'm going to have to remedy that. The holes are just stripped, so nothing little wood glue and toothpicks can't fix. I've got one rogue green super band rubber here. Oh, I hate super bands. I'll probably get rid of that because it don't match. And it needs to match. I do like the blue flipper rubbers, but you know what? These feel pretty tight. These might also be super bands, but I can live with those in this case. I don't love putting them on, that's for sure. They are pain in your thumb. Okay, so the other thing is the Bally games of this era used all 555 plastic sockets. Last time I dealt with this era machine, it was Electra, and I literally could not LED it because the LEDs I had, the base was just too thick to fit in these style sockets. And I tried and I fought hard, and I just was not having any success, so eventually I just gave up and left it incandescent. I also noticed most of this is incandescent, like all the inserts. There are a couple LEDs here and here and here and here. There might literally be 4 LEDs in the whole machine. But let's slide this back glass out a bit. Oh, there's my display cover. And see what's going on back here. Oh, there are old school LEDs in here. See, that base is fairly thin. The ones I have might be a little thicker, so I will try to update the LEDs because these are just not bright at all. Oh, and it's part incandescent too. Oh, they didn't do the controlled lights because they would flicker. So if I'm going to go LEDs on all the controlled lamps, then I'm going to need some LED adapters, which I can get from my buddy Corey Cook at London Pinball for a reasonable price. That sounded amazing. All right, so like I said, I think the first thing I want to do is see if we can't get this flipper working. So let's start with that. Okay, let's have a look at this flipper here. Something going on a little bit weird with the end of stroke switch. It looks like it was intentionally bent out of the way to make room for the actuator. Although it does open and close fine. All the screws seem to be intact, unlike this guy here. But something weird going on with the wiring. What does this say? It's just a little drawing of some boobs. All right. Boobies. Or is it a B for boobies? Well, let's get rid of that. And yeah, so this wire goes up here over to this end of stroke switch. What? Does that make any sense? And then this wire goes to this brown white wire here. And where does it go from there? To here, I guess. And then look at this. We got a busted wire off this solenoid. And then, what is this? A big giant mess. What is going on here? Okay. Yeah, this is a disaster. So obviously I gotta sort out some wiring. Is there more bare wire here? Or am I just seeing things? No, I think that's okay. All right, so obviously I gotta just sort out what's going on with all this wiring, and then that should do the trick. But now I guess I gotta go looking for some photos and or schematics. Okay, I was just looking at this end of stroke switch here, and I just kind of touched the little end of the switch here. I wanted to bend it apart just so that they're not touching each other, and that happened. So the soldering job is not ideal. Look at this. I think I need to basically resolder all of the flipper end of stroke switches and lugs for power and whatnot. So I think that's where I'm going to start. Okay, first things first, I got the schematic from the Internet Pinball database, and this is the flipper section here. And then I remembered there's this really cool tech chart. It's on pinballrebel.com. Let's go back and see there's an entire list of games. And this is kind of my new thing. Anytime I go to do a machine, I got to remember to go to the tech chart, because it basically is just a nice summary of some of the most important information when working on a machine. We got coil information, switch matrix, and then a lamp chart, So this is all really good stuff. And you can see down here, it's got information about the flippers. This is, so 60 is the code for brown. So you got a brown wire going to each of these guys. And then you've got green going to one, white, orange going to another, gray going to another. It's got the flipper coils that you're supposed to have. So it's all very useful information. And I'm just kind of studying this schematic here. I'm not amazing at them, but I'm learning. So this here is the 1 amp slow blow fuse that is located right there. I'm going to double check and make sure that is correct. But you can see this number 60 brown wire. It says it goes from the slow blow fuse, and then this is the 3 lugs of the coil right here. This guy, and this guy. And then there's a diode here, and a stroke switch, and I believe that is the flipper, like cabinet flipper switch. So you got brown wire going to this lug, and then brown wire going to this lug, brown wire going to this lug. I'm going to call that the right lug. And I checked, and that is actually the case. And then the 40 wire, which I think is the green. Let's see, let's check that chart again. 40 is green, yes. Now the wire colors may vary. And it does in this case, because my, where is it? White-orange wire is actually orange-white, but close enough, right? So this green wire goes to the left flipper lug, 3rd lug, outside lug. Oh, and then there's a switch here. Oh, that is the secondary switch on the switch tack that gives power to the upper flipper. And then that green wire goes here to the 3rd lug, outside lug of that flipper. And then 57, that's your orange-white, white-orange wire. That one goes to the right flipper. So, you know, it's all helpful. Oh, and you know what else is also very helpful? After I like checked all that out and then kind of just like traced all this out. So like if you follow, you can see here's this brown wire coming in. It comes around, it goes to the fuse, comes back around here, and then back out and through and down here, and then back out, and then it kind of ends here. We lose our brown there, but someone extended that, and that goes to here. So it's all kind of checking out. And I think in the grand scheme of things, it was just this. This is the secondary switch stack that feeds power to this guy here. I think one of these wires was popped off, and I think if I just added that back on, we would have got our upper flipper. But I started pulling out all these loose wires, and now I have to like resort out how they all go back again. But there's this dude on YouTube has an informational video that pertains exactly to the issue I'm having, and that guy is me. But look at this. This is where I was replacing the linear flippers on my Frontier with the good old standard flippers, and this is the exact photo I need to show the wiring. So we got the brown wire coming in down here, back out, and then for my end of stroke switch, use also that outside lug and then the middle lug. Those go to your end of stroke switch, and then this is the other wire, I don't know, it feeds back or whatever. That's the white orange right there. Oops. Which is actually orange white on my Frontier, and same here on Cybernaut. it's more like orange gray, but you know, like I said, we'll let it slide there, Bally. That's just fine and dandy. So that's not all that difficult to sort out. And we know that this is the end of stroke switch, because at the end of the stroke it opens, and then that kills the power to this flipper, and then this other switch engages the power to the lower flipper. So I just need to figure out which wire goes where, and then we should have our upper flipper. Hey fellow shenaniganders, if you are enjoying what you are seeing, why don't you click on these 3 dots at the bottom of any video and then find this heart, click on that, and hey, look at this, you can buy me a beer. You can use the slider to buy me 500 beers if you really like, but this is a way you can send thanks, and I very much appreciate your support. If you do so, your comment will be highlighted, and also I will give you a shout out. So thank you for all your support. Okay, here's how this is going. I've got the 2 brown wires, twisted them to a new end of stroke switch wire, and I got them all soldered on nicely. Another end of stroke switch wire soldered on, and then this guy's got to go here. I've cleaned up these 2 lugs here for the end of stroke switch. They'll go like that, and I was able to spin the wrapper on this coil around to unveil that it is the proper coil. And I compared its ohms to the ohms on this one, and they're both very similar, because this one is just a tiny bit different, 3600, but this is A24570, A25500. So the power winding is about 3.8 ohms, I think, on this one, and about 3.6 ohms on this one. The hold windings, which is the higher number, don't really care about that so much. That's just, you know, when your flipper's up and you're holding it up, that strength doesn't need to be necessarily the same on both, but you want the power strength to feel the same, and it's pretty darn close. What is this, 3600 versus 4500 winding, so definitely a bit of a difference there. Not sure that I deem that necessary to change this coil out though, but I'll clean up the end of stroke switch, and oh, look at that, we're missing a screw too. Okay, well, I'll have to find me a screw and clean up this switch, and then that should be somewhat sufficient. Someone did put in these honking screws here in the coil stop, along with some washers, which they had to like snip down because the washers were too big. I don't even know why they put the washers in, but yeah, they had to modify the washers, and I don't even know how you get a tool. Well, you certainly can't get a nut driver on these. You have to use the flathead portion, because a nut driver wouldn't fit being so close to the coil stop. So anyway, that is a bit of a mess, but I'm not gonna fudge with that if I don't have to. Okay, this flipper is done. The wiring is all tidied up. I added a screw. I cleaned and adjusted the end of stroke switch. Tightened up all of the bracket screws and coil stop screws. And hopefully that is all this really needs. So I'm going to move on to this mess next. Okay, here's how things are going in flipper land. These are all the old crappy end of stroke switch wires. And like this side, I replaced these 2 and, well, 3 wires on this side. One is going to be power, but everything is just way nicer and tidier and more secure. And this is the only solder joint I didn't feel the instant need to redo, because this one is pretty good. I think that'll suffice. I did have to move the little wire clip a little bit to give me some extra slack, especially for these brown wires coming out of the harness here. So that's the old hole there. And I did clean up the switch contact points with my Dremel. Those are looking pretty good, and it is actually adjusted. I didn't have to do anything. That should be fine. I kind of had to realign the switches a little bit because this blade here is broken a bit, so just a bit of this nylon is making contact with this switch here, but these guys were a little askew, so I had to straighten them out to give it the most amount of contact point possible. That should be fine. And I think the only thing left is to do the wood glue and toothpick thing to secure this bracket. All right, I don't really feel like removing the flipper bat so that I can remove the entire bracket so that I can do the toothpick thing. But I found a new strategy. I got my little sutures here, a little piece of toothpick, a little piece of, is that hair? Could be Jamie's hair, who knows? Certainly ain't mine. But it's just, oh yeah, by the way, so I already did these two guys and they're in there solid, and then I noticed that I am missing a third one. So it's a little game of operation here. Jam that in the hole, and then the wood glue just kind of holds it in place. Then you push it in a little further, and you know what, this one's a little bit long, so anyway, that's the strategy. I'm just going to shorten this up a bit, jam it in there, let it set, and then add that screw, and then I'll show you what's going on with this flipper. Just kind of put that in there, the glue will kind of hold it in place. Let me push that in, and then just let that set up for a bit, and then use one of these beefy screws, and then that plate ain't gonna go anywhere. But someone did add these like supersize screws to the bracket, so that also helps keep everything in place. But look at the bottom now, that ain't going anywhere. I think the top middle one is this yellow. Oh, yep, that was loose. Crank that up. So once I get that last screw in there, these flipper brackets are going to be rock solid. Okay, I got that last screw in there. Also did check that is in fact a 1 amp slow blow fuse, so that is good. And then I went ahead and replaced these two wires. This one could have been a little longer, but oh well. I didn't bother resoldering this guy. This one's pretty just fine and dandy, but I did these guys and these guys, so that is all good. Now I have to clean the end of stroke switch, tighten up these screws, and then we can test the flipper. All right, in quick summary, I replaced all of the crappy wiring, pretty much resoldered all the coils and all the end of stroke switches, and tightened everything up, cleaned up all the contacts, adjusted the end of stroke switches. It is not a flipper rebuild by any means, but remember, the whole goal here, it was just to get the upper flipper working, and hopefully that is the case. I got the machine turned on. We're going to find out shortly. And if I deem necessary, after playing some games, that I need to do a flipper rebuild, or you know, even switch out these linear flippers like I did on Frontier, then you know, I can do that. But I just wanted to get the damn flipper to flip, and I went on a 2-hour tangent trying to do that. So let's hit the start button, and here is the big test. Either a fuse is going to blow or the flipper is going to work. So let's pan out here. Can you see my flipping finger? All right. Focus right here. And let's see if that plunger pulls in. Yes, it does. All right. Sweet. That is awesome. Okay, let's lower the playfield and kind of play a quick little game here, and then I got to wrap it up. Okay, now that we got the sound working, I just love how this machine sounds when you turn it on. Check this out. That's pretty cool. All right, so I went ahead and changed the dip switch settings. 31 and 32 need to go off in order to set the machine to 3-ball play. We can't be having any of that 5-ball play crap. So let's just give it a little play test with the flipper working, and also maybe see if we can learn a thing or two about what it is we're actually trying to do here. I know we want to hit the rollover buttons at the top, which is our ion generator. I think the tube is our generation tube for ions. Can we shats ourselves here? Kind of. Say that would qualify as shatsing myself. Oh, that is also shatsing myself. I think I'm going to put this game back onto 5 balls. Just kidding. Oh my god. What? Oh. How am I back on ball 3? Did I not score any points? Maybe that's what happened to Jay last night. Because we were like, how are you still on ball 2? So maybe there's a way that you can drain without scoring and save your ball. Hey, first upper flipper. Whoa. Come on, man. No, that's not happening. Okay, let's stop messing around. And let's actually play for more than 2 seconds. Whoa, that doesn't sound like that switch is registering. That upper flipper seems pretty kind of pointless. What is there, 2 switches over there that you can hit? The A and the S. It's the ass flipper. Uh-oh. Wait. Oh, yes. Saved it. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, okay, you can hit the upper targets. Oh, gate is open. Sweet. Gotta learn how to do that. Oh, gate open when lit on the left, right here. Oop, failed. It's a pretty dangerous upper flipper. There we go. Gate, are you gonna open? Look at that. Oh, the other gate opened. Back in the shooter lane. You can get it back up top. I didn't even really realize what happened there. Hit the tube with the gate up there closed, thereby sending it back into the shooter lane. It is clearly not working. Got those red switches up there, or at least one on the left. And I think that's going to be a simple solution. Probably need to replace the capacitor on the switch. So I hit it nice and soft and it registered. And I hit the middle one nice and hard and it did not register. Let's try the very far right one. No, that was the middle one again. I really hope I can LED this machine without great difficulty fighting with those sockets, because I think some LEDs would really do this machine some wonders. You know, incandescent isn't so bad. Definitely will help with the general illumination. It's a pretty dark game. Like if I don't have my camera light on, look how dark this is. 'cause it's not the worst thing in the world, but... Okay, well, I wasn't really planning on spending the whole night just getting one flipper working, but that's how it goes. You know, you go off on a tangent and you want to make things right as you go along. So I'd say that was a success. So stay tuned for some more Cybernaut action on the next episode. Okay, this flipper is done. The wiring is... Okay, this flipper is done. The wiring is... Fuck! Wiring.